This is What's Hot in Small Business Marketing. Thank you for joining us today. I'll start with my introduction. I'll introduce my panel, and then we'll start with our questionnaires. At the end, this is a 35-minute session. At the end of that, we're going to allow about 10 minutes for Q&A, so please hold those till the end. I am Yvonne Vidal. I am the owner of Social Butterfly Media Consulting. I'm a business marketing strategist by profession. My goal is to help businesses maximize their understanding of how to reach their target population. Using effective social media strategies, I help my customers get a PhD in their customers' behaviors and use the patterns to improve their return on investment. With a bachelor's and a master's in psychology, I've dedicated over 10 years to helping businesses of all diversities evolve their marketing strategies and stay ahead of this digital curve. I will now introduce my panel. First on our panel is Cecilia Orozco. She serves as the Assistant Director of Communications, where she oversees the marketing division and the 311 call center. Prior to joining the city, Cecilia spent over a decade serving in various capacities, supporting local nonprofits and small businesses while successfully leading campaigns that generate growth and development in the city of Corpus Christi. Cecilia holds a master's in business administration from Texas A&M Corpus Christi and a bachelor's in biomedical sciences. Cecilia is currently a member of the Junior League of Corpus Christi and serves as a member of the Economic Empowerment Committee for the Chamber of Commerce. Next is Jason Houlihan. Jason is the Executive Director of Marketing and Events at Del Mar College. He manages the college's brand, creates engaging marketing content, oversees the college's customer relationship management system, and coordinates multiple events. His social media savvy and unique approach to content have earned him a reputation as a creative force in the field. His significant contributions to marketing have been recognized with multiple awards from the American Advertising Federation and the National Council for Marketing and Public Relations, including Addies and the Paragon Awards. In addition to his role at Del Mar, Jason is a certified unmanned aircraft systems pilot and collaborates with Nightstorm Productions. Next on the panel is Tauren Reddy. He is getting his MBA at A&M in College Station. His company is Reddy Media, and it was founded 3 years ago. And he currently works with 56 businesses across Texas that generate between 1 and 10 million in revenue. And his company was started right here in Corpus Christi. They're a marketing company that is transitioning into buying businesses in industries and they have found success in building a portfolio company. Tauren has a background in software engineering and has a few apps on the App Store currently. Thank you to our panel for joining us. Alrighty, we will move into our questions and then we'll let our panel answer them as needed. Our first question is, what emerging social media platforms should small businesses prioritize for their marketing efforts and why? Who wants to take that one first?
I can go ahead and take this one. I would say that obviously the biggest platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. But one thing I would say is look for what businesses in your industry, ones that are successful, what platforms they use. Because if you model success, obviously if they're on Facebook, if they're on LinkedIn, it's because that's where their customers are. And so I would just maximize what they're doing and start incorporating those things because success leaves clues. And so you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can just copy and then add your touch on things and slowly start building it out from there.
When I was a young dude, I liked to drag race amateurly on ranch roads. And what I learned is if you don't have enough traction, it doesn't really work. So building on what was just shared, we could share a ton of new platforms with you, but it's probably stupid to start doing that if you can't do what you're already doing right. So Facebook, Instagram, and all of those platforms are still king. TikTok's probably getting banned. I mean, the House is laying the floor to ban TikTok across the board. I'm at a community college. We've already had it banned, so we've adapted and kind of overcome and worked a new strategy. All of you are going to face the same things, but focus on what you're already doing, start changing your behaviors so that you can do it well. And if you're doing B2B, it's probably LinkedIn. If you're trying to engage with students and stuff like that, it's still kind of Instagram and Facebook, and it would be TikTok if we could. If you're a restaurant and you have some really incredible images of food, well, Instagram is where you should be. So you want to lean heavily into what's most meaningful for your business. And again, we could share a bunch of new stuff, but ultimately, I think focusing on what you're already doing and leveling up on that is the best strategy.
Okay, so I do want to just add on, I agree to what everything both of them are saying, and it depends on what exactly you're trying to achieve, which social media platform you should utilize. As far as which I do think is kind of up and coming, I feel like LinkedIn has a large potential to help with growth in your business. I feel it does connect you business to business, but at the same time, just like our key panelist or our key spokesperson was saying, you want to remove some of those hats off of your plate, and finding those talents that are going to be out in the community would be best done through LinkedIn. I think I've seen some incredible connections being made through LinkedIn, and there's a lot of valuable content that's being shared there rather than the other platforms that tend to be a little bit more, I'd say, fun, not as educational, not as intensive, intensive, I guess. So LinkedIn is something that I feel that I highly recommend for everyone just trying to grow your own personal branding as yourself, as the business owner, but also getting connected to talent.
Thank you. Thank you for those answers, and I agree as well. I just wanted to speak a little bit to what Cecilia was saying. Personally, for myself, I've had some of the biggest contracts start in a seed conversation on LinkedIn. Some of the best talent that I've ever recruited also is a result of me stalking them on LinkedIn. So that conversation is also invaluable. Some of the other platforms that are like up and coming, how many of you guys are involved in Threads? Have heard of Threads, right? And when it first came out and like we're months down the line at this point, I'm just like, so we're all just kind of in here, huh? And I didn't really know what to do with it. I felt like it was gonna eventually turn into politically driven, which it hasn't, but they're really trying to make fetch happen with Threads by putting it in the other platforms at this point. And we haven't really touched on X, which used to be Twitter. We don't say Twitter anymore. It's now X, right? And it's also a tool that was kind of there. It's got the tenure of Twitter, but now it's like X. And those are also just pokes in the fire. Everything is a poke in the fire. And we also encourage our customers to exploit everything free before we go into paid. And so it's another citation, it's another place to rank on SEO and things like that as well. And I just wanted to touch on that as well. But all great answers, thank you so much. Again, hold your questions for the end. Our next question as we move on is, how can small businesses effectively leverage influencer marketing on social media to enhance brand awareness and customer engagement? This is one of my favorite topics. I love talking about influencer marketing. Who wants to start with that one?
So I am the assistant director for the city of Corpus Christi, and influencer marketing is still a thing even in a municipality. So we utilize some of our employees to try to spearhead messaging, but also out in the community, civic leaders or just influencers in general that you know are out and about and hot in social media. We try to utilize them to send specific messages to the community. But I think leveraging these influencers is key. One example is Starbucks. I'm pretty sure that some of you have gotten a Starbucks drink with your name spelled incorrectly. That's a marketing technique. They use influencers. They know that they're going to snap a picture of that incorrect name and it's going to get posted. Everyone's going to start posting their cups saying, they misspelled my name wrong too, my name wrong too. And that's free marketing and advertising for them. So utilize influencers, utilize little tricks to try to get them to start posting for you. I think it's important to know that that's like a big return on investment and you're really putting nothing in it.
The two biggest influencers that you already have are your customers and your employees. Customers and your employees. I think where I work at Del Mar College, the easiest way for us to get derailed is by our own employees. I mean, somebody walks in and has a bad experience. I think most of us could say that about our own businesses. So starting from a place of making sure that you have some congruency across people's experience with your brand. Whether you're doing HVAC systems or you're running a municipality, that matters. One bad experience with somebody helping somebody with a gas line can really turn people off to the whole city of Corpus Christi. Same with Del Mar. They get yelled at by an admissions rep saying, "Dude, you're dumb. Why didn't you do your Apply Texas already?" And da-da-da. Why would you want to be here? The second thing, on the customer front is making them feel like a hero, because they are. That's what fuels all of what we do. So in my context, that's making students the hero, because they are. They're giving up money and time. You just heard it's the most valuable thing to better their life, to better their family's economic viability. So those are big things. And then to move into the paid part of it, because that plays in this too, we hire paid influencers on occasion and when it makes sense. Don't get sold a bill of goods. Make sure that the person you're hiring is actually providing ROI. Talk more about that later, but whether that's qualified leads for your construction company, or in my case, students that actually want to be students. So what does that mean? An influencer should actually want to go to our college. We shouldn't be hiring people that don't want to go to the Del Mar College. That makes no sense. So just think through kind of what you're doing and what your actual business expectations are when you hire an influencer.
I agree with everything they're saying. And to also simplify it, the goal of influencers is you're leveraging an audience that they've already built, right? So you want to find influencers that have the same type of audience as your customers or the people you're trying to target. I mean, that's fundamentally what it is. And so I'll give you one example, and this is an interesting example, but one of the companies we work with is a roofing company, and we have multiple ways to reach out to realtors. We scrape lists and we send emails out, cold emails, but then we also message them on social media. And getting a list of realtors that have relationships with these roofing companies allows them to send business to these roofers for free. And it doesn't cost anything to do that, right? It doesn't cost anything to build that relationship. And so again, it doesn't cost anything. And one realtor can send 3, 4, 5 jobs a year. And if you have 30 realtors in your network, then do the math on that. So again, it's about leveraging, people who have your audience and then making sure that, it's a good fit. And we'll talk more about how to measure that later. But again, I hope that provides some value.
All amazing answers. I love that. Something that, just because the topic of this is what's hot in social media, something that I just wanted to stress is, for myself personally and working with influencers for as long as I have, is the value in micro influencers. And what I mean by that is, don't be impressed by the fluff. If somebody has 10,000 followers, and they're submitting their KPIs or their key point indicators, and we're looking at their audience, just make sure that the value is there for the target population. So we live in Corpus, we're trying to reach Corpus people. What good is it if you have 10,000 followers, but the majority of them are in Houston? So micro influencers, people that have between 2,000 to 4,000 followers, end up getting you a better ROI, because those people end up trusting the person they're following so much more, and they know that their cohorts in their community are involved in everything they post, and that audience is there to maintain that target location reach. So don't negate your person that has maybe a smaller following, because they're going to have more power. They're like a baby rattlesnake. They're small, but they got that venom, right? And don't be impressed by your 50,000 follower people, because you can buy followers these days and that doesn't mean anything. So always look at the back end of their insights and always ask them, hey, can I see your key point indicators? Can I see what your numbers are? And they have it on the back end. If they're a good influencer, they're going to be able to provide you numbers. So always ask for those as well.
That's actually a great point. One thing I want to add to that is, so obviously you're leveraging the audience that they've built, but what you said is true in the sense that you're also leveraging the trust they have with their audience. Who here hates seeing paid advertising on social media? Oh, you got to raise your hands higher than that. Okay, so exactly, right? So when you're leveraging these influencers, you're leveraging the trust that they have with their fans. And so it's a lot easier to sell products than it would be if you're running paid advertising to cold traffic. So I think that was a great point.
That That actually hurt my heart a little bit because I'm the person setting up that paid advertising. So I'm like, don't hate it, really? No, that's fine, cool. All right, we're moving on. The next question is, what role does video content play in small business social media marketing? And what are some of the best practices for creating and sharing videos?
I've been doing this for 20 years almost, which makes me feel old. But started at 16 filming for my football team in high school, and worked for news organizations, and video is like where my whole career was made, So I love talking about video. So video has absolutely no role in your company. Just kidding. It absolutely does. You should be doing video. I think it's one of the harder things to do, though. It's one of the hardest things to do right. As it currently stands, most video content is moving vertical, which means, like this way, not horizontal. And I think the easiest way to start and kind of like get into it is to start and get into it, Start filming stuff with your phone, start kind of doing some things. If you want to put some organization behind it, I think behind the scenes stuff works. Kind of piggybacking on trends that you'll see on Instagram or TikTok are a good way to get started. As far as the easiest way to keep it cost effective, do it in bulk. Give you an example. Right now, we're doing a series of Will It Weld at Del Mar. And so we got some Slim Jim, and we're seeing, does Slim Jim weld? Does a metal straw weld? We care about sea turtles too at Del Mar College, so metal straws, they weld. We just did that one, so that works. Think about clever, fun, goofy, interesting, snarky ways to share your business, whether that's putting some prayer candles on an HVAC system and saying, hey, there's a better way to do this, come call us and we'll hook you up. Whatever it is, think through what your industry is and your knowledge of that industry and try to find a funny way to present it. Because truth be told, everybody's doing best practices these days. In higher ed, there's a ton of options for people. There's online, there's all kinds of places they could go. So we could just post a photo of a classroom, but that kind of sucks. We need to make it a little more sexy than that. That's the same thing you're gonna have to do in your business. There's a lot of competition out there to cut through the noise. You're gonna have to be creative, and sometimes you gotta hire a professional. There's a professional right here. There's a lot of great people in Corpus Christi, whether that's Nightstorm Productions or Yvonne knows people, and there's all kinds of people out there that can help you do that. So if you have the budget, call a professional if you don't feel comfortable.
Okay, so I am not a video expert like these two at all. So no, you're not gonna catch me doing videos. I'm not gonna be recording my own movies or anything like that, but I am gonna be a host. I do wanna mention that the city did launch a cooking show. So you might think, the city, a cooking show, why? So it is something creative that our team kind of thought would try to reach out and engage with just the residents a little bit more. So in the cooking show, we partnered with Del Mar. We had some volunteer chefs, but sprinkled within was a little bit of educational topics, giving some insights into some of the departments. But overall, that video series did well for a municipality. We had a lot of views. We had a lot of requests of when is the next show coming out? So that does go to show that kind of what Jason was saying, you have to be creative. You have to think out of the box. A typical sit-down video, people are gonna swipe. You've got like a couple of seconds to catch their attention. So really be creative in how you approach things. Even if you wanna make a short video on your phone, I think creating content for Reels is very impactful too. So even if you can't get the fancy videos up and going, at least revert to some of the Reel options. A couple of seconds, 15 seconds would go a long way.
Thank you for those answers. I feel like using video in social media, nowadays we're at the mercy of this beautiful, elusive unicorn called an algorithm. And I have A and B studied myself to show that the algorithm prefers video over photos these days, even in visually driven platforms like Instagram. So, Reels are becoming more preferred, and in that algorithm, they are favored. It's the ugly truth. It's just the way we are moving. And putting your photo as a 3D photo that warps as you pass it by doesn't count as a video, guys. I have a follow-up question for Jason, just because I'm curious, and I think this is going to be a funny answer. Hey, so you've been doing this 20 years, and what kind of camera did you use 20 years ago to make video?
I used beta cams, so tapes. So I learned tape to tape editing first, which I'm not that old, but I'm that old, you know? It's like it's a weird position. I'm just trying to imagine now, like lifting this 40-pound hulk of a camera and like turning it vertical to film stuff. My boss would have decapitated me at the time.
So also follow-up question, and this could go for the whole panel. Are you guys using professional photography, like Canons, Nikons, like DSL cameras, or are you using like your phones? Like what do you find gives you like better quality, better control, things like that? Professional videos or like your handhelds?
That's a good question. So shout out to our content team at Reddy Media. So we get a lot of content for our clients, and there's a couple things I want to touch on. So if I rant, I apologize.
I will gladly. Hello. I will gladly stop you if you go over time, because our timekeeper is already looking at me. But go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So the first thing to answer your question is that we've seen both do well in terms of professional content, but then also more user-generated content where it's just from a phone. I think it's from the perspective of people can tell when you're trying to sell them something. And so when you have really over-the-top professional quality, it has a place and time, but it also depends on the setting and what you're trying to do with the video. So I would say both work. It just kind of depends. And honestly, I know you could probably attest to this, but it's more about just putting stuff out there, seeing what's working, and then double downing on whatever's working. The second thing I want to say about video is that the point of a video, well, first of all, with social media, content is the input. The output is actually the audience you gain and build over time. So that's the whole purpose of this. The second thing is the easiest sales in our business and any lead generation business are clients that have seen your content. They already know what you do. They already know the value you provide. And then they come to you because you're an expert in your field. That's the easiest sale by far. And so the point of content is to provide value by educating or entertaining. And ideally, if you're really good, you do both at the same time. And that's how you get really good content. And then it's just about consistency. So, sorry, I tried to sum it up a little bit.
All right. I'll keep it really, really brief. We totally use phones, okay? It's just keeping up with like the latest technology. So iPhone Max, that makes sense, you know, when our team's doing it. So Jessie is like our really incredible social media person that we work intimately together, and she shoots a lot of the stuff on the phone. That works great. Me, that was like sacrilegious at first, but you know what? It works. It doesn't matter. It works. That's what matters at the end of the day. And same thing for us. So I mean, we are, whether we want to admit it or not in higher ed, we're a lead generation business too. We want to qualify leads. We want to make sure students are all the way through their Apply Texas and all the other hoops that Texas has for you to become an enrolled student at an accredited university or college. So same thing for us. Professional-wise, we've really used a lot of like Sony DSLRs. I think they just make the best, most robust things right now. They can handle a lot of the crud that we have in South Texas called sand and wind and humidity. That is really, really hard on electronics. So spending money on something that's gonna last. You guys know you're probably all in industries where you're spending, you know, doing a huge capital outlay on all kinds of stuff. So buy the right stuff that lasts. In my opinion, you don't have to have the latest and greatest. I still love a Sony FS2, and that's a camera nerd thing, but that was like made 9 years ago. It still works. It looks just as great as a lot of DSLRs today. It's just you got to know how to use the tools. You guys are all probably way more versed than I am on working on cars or HVAC systems or welding. But for cameras, let me just tell you, as long as you know, do a little bit of research, you can get something that's 5, 6, 7 years old. It still works. So use it.
Right, and it works well. So those are all great points. And at this time, we'll move on to the next question. How can small businesses maximize their ROI, return on investment, on social media advertising campaigns? And what metrics should they be tracking to measure success?
Okay, I can go on this one. The metrics obviously depend on the type of business, right? But I can tell you for a lead generation business where you're selling a high ticket product, you want to know the cost per lead. You want to know where the lead came from. You want to know your closing percentage. You want to know how many leads do I need in order to get a customer. You need to know the lifetime value of a customer so that you can say, okay, if I spend $500 to get 10 leads and I close one and that customer is worth $10,000 to me over the lifetime of having them, then that removes a marketing budget as a constraint on a business. But most business owners don't know those metrics, so they don't know when things are working. They don't know how to track these things. And so it makes it really hard to scale advertising. But there's a lot of tools and things like that to track. And I've had a mentor tell me, you can tell the skill of a business by the quality and the quantity of the metrics they track. And so I would just, if you don't do that, have somebody do that, but you need metrics because if not, you're operating blind. And I can just tell you in our personal experience with Reddy Media, we didn't have a lot of metrics in the beginning. And we were like chicken without heads running around. And it was just, we were on a hamster wheel. And as soon as we got some clarity, it made our lives a lot easier in figuring out like, what is the constraint of this business or a client we're working with? And it makes it a lot easier to then attack it and solve that problem. And then you can also see if what you're doing is directionally helping you guys or not. So it's on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, so I want to add on for return on investment. I think we talk a lot about time and how your time is the valuable part of your business. So a way that I would recommend to improve return on investment based on time is to purchase like Hootsuite or Sprout Social. These are two platforms that we personally utilize to keep track of our social media accounts, but also to provide you with the analytics. Using some of these tools, you can schedule out, and I know Meta Business does allow it, but these two just help you get better insights. They provide some information on when's best to post, what are some of your engagement rates looking like, and they help you compare your platforms across all channels. You can also compare between other cities, other like businesses that are in the same field, so that way you can track to see if you're actually making an impact in your type of business. As far as, what was the second part? I'm sorry.
The second part is, I think you covered both of those parts, the ROI for advertising campaigns and the metrics.
Okay, metrics. Oh, the metrics. I did want to add on. So one of the biggest things that are coming about when we're talking about specifically like AI and all of the support that is coming out, sentiment analysis is one of the things that I would recommend looking into. Sentiment analysis will track what people are actually saying about your post. So sometimes, let's say you'll make a post and you'll get a lot of engagement. Yes, there's a lot of likes, dislikes, and comments, but how do you know if it's actually positive? How do you know if your brand is actually building that trust, that rapport? So sentiment analysis will actually provide you with some details on if it was a positive experience, a negative experience, and you can track how your branding is doing with that. So that's one of the things I wanted to add.
All right, so this is the most important question that we've asked the whole time, because honestly, why spend money, why spend time if it doesn't actually provide an ROI for your business? At Del Mar College, I predominantly work in the top of the funnel. So my job, I'm a point guard. Our whole team are point guards. That's the way I like to put it. If you guys watched John Stockton and Karl Malone way back in the day, unfortunately they could never beat the Bulls, but they ran the pick and roll like nobody else. But Karl Malone was nothing without John Stockton. Well, you know what? John Stockton is social media. Your business is nothing without social media because it sets the Karl Malone, which is your salespeople, up to sell and convert customers. That's what this is all about, is getting the ball into the basket, right? Getting somebody to do something meaningful with your business or organization. It's the same thing at Del Mar College, and one of the biggest tools that we use, we use metrics like link clicks and all that, but the customer relationship management system that we have gives a lot more transparency, and transparency breeds accountability. One of the best things that we have as business owners or in any organization, because then we can know when we're failing our students. And when Del Mar fails our students, we're failing you, the taxpayer, we're failing our community, and we're failing the workforce. That's a big, big deal. The stakes are just as high for you because it's money in your pocket. It's the people that work for you, they're gonna be unemployed if you don't nail this stuff. So it's a big, big, big deal. And so what do we track? We track that the people that are actually doing something meaningful, like an Apply Texas application. So for you, that might be somebody actually calling your business, somebody actually having someone come check out the roof and see if they need a new roof, or it's somebody visiting downtown Corpus Christi and posting a photo from one of the beautiful businesses that's popped up over there over the years. I can say that from fact, because I moved to Houston and I came back. Downtown is so much different than it was when I lived here in high school versus what it is today. And that took meaningful work. All of these things take consistency and work. And so at the end of the day, vanity metrics matter too. There's a reason beauticians are employed. Vanity still matters. There's a reason Dr. VJ is employed, right? Cosmetic surgery and vanity matters. So I hear a lot that vanity metrics don't matter. I'm sure Yvonne hears that as well. They do matter, because without you guys, without an audience, without likes and shares, there ain't no audience, bro. So who are you talking to? You got to be talking to somebody. But conversions, ultimately, customer relationship management tools, tracking clicks and links, and or tracking click links, link clicks, guys, my bad, are really, really, really critical to creating meaningful content. So if those things aren't happening, then your content probably sucks and you need to reevaluate.
And something I just wanted to say, just because we are at a small business summit, right, is the fundamental fact that you hire us and we can bring you leads all day. But if you don't answer your phone and your voicemail is full, then you need to look at your processes and procedures and your internal structure to actually recognize and mediate those issues. And when we say return on investment, is just that. You invested in us, we did our job, now I need you to do your job. And never underestimate the power of someone not doing their job within your business, your baby that you built, and you hired somebody to take care of it, right? So when you hire us and then you actually look at these metrics and you look at the clicks of the links, Jesus Christ, and you look at, because we talked about, and then the call comes in. Did it get answered? Did it go to voicemail? What time did they call? Was somebody at lunch? How quickly were they called back? How many other of your competitors did they call in the time that you took to call them back? You know, those are the fundamental things that I try to teach. And we start off in social media, but we are treating a symptom to a problem. And if it becomes something greater than what we could offer you, then we're out. Because we have businesses that are ready to work with us and have that conversation in a way that everybody does their job, rather than just us working for you and then, you know, your phones don't get answered. So I just wanted to touch on that really, really quickly. I loved all those answers. That is the last question that I had. I'm going to take this opportunity to open it up for questions from the audience. All righty, right here, orange shirt, orange shirt. So the question is, on Facebook, when it offers you the opportunity to, quote unquote, boost your post, does that really work? Who wants to take that?
I'll answer that question. It does work. Now, there's a lot of factors that go into that, right? It's what are you posting, right? Or what are you boosting, I should say. One thing that's a really easy telltale sign is post organically. And then the best performing post is probably something that you want to put money behind. Now, going back to what you were saying earlier, I think it's important for people to understand, especially small businesses, like what a funnel is. And so for your business, it might be, I want people to call my phone, or I want people to submit the form on our website. You have to identify, like, what is that? And then everything you do on social media is directing people to take that action. And then you can compare how many views did we get this month on social media versus how many calls or how many form submissions or how many people we came in. Those are the things that you want to compare on. And then when you boost an ad, you're going to be inflating the number of people that see the post, but it doesn't really help you if you don't have a way to see, okay, well, now we for sure got more eyeballs. What did that lead to? And so I would first set that up, and then, of course, boosting works. It definitely works.
I'm pretty much in total agreement, and I won't add much other than you should definitely be tracking this stuff. And if you're not tracking this stuff, for the love of God, track this stuff. Like, track this stuff, because otherwise your social media people will have no hair like me, and they're going to be really frustrated that they don't feel like, and you'll probably feel like as a business owner, why do I even have this dude here? They're not doing anything meaningful for me. Track it and track it and track it some more, because you can pivot when you fail. I mean, it was brought up earlier. When you fail, you should be pivoting. You should be picking yourself up and doing things differently, not failing and just like continuing to flail around like a dead fish, you know? Like pick it up, figure it out, and get something meaningful to happen. Again, whether that's calls, it's always gonna be an action. You should always have a call to action. So if you're boosting posts without call to actions, that's also not really an intelligent strategy. Leave you with that. Hope is not a strategy, guys. Like hoping things will happen, you gotta plan out like how is this all gonna work with my business to actually convert someone to spend some money or be a City of Corpus Christi customer or be a student at Del Mar College or whatever it is.
You can't improve what you don't measure, and you can automate a lot of this tracking. Like I don't want to make this seem like it's some like you need a data scientist to help you do all these things. Once you set it up once, you can have it to where it sends you a weekly report to your email, and you can just take a glance at it. You can have, if you have a social media manager or something, that's what they could be looking at. And ultimately, it's like you want to find what's working and just double down on it. And so, looking at the types of posts that are resonating the most, looking at those types of things, that's what's going to help you over time just get better and get directionally correct. And you'll see success, I promise, because I know it works. So, yeah.
I guess just to add on really quick, I do say that boosting anything, like Jason mentioned, should all have a call to action. I think that is priority, and I think that's what we're all really saying is if your post does not have a call to action, your boosting is not going to work. Yes, it's going to come across many people's Facebook pages, but they're just going to scroll right by it. As far as boosting itself, boosting can be fairly cheap to however expensive you want to make it. I did want to touch on that. So let's say you've got a specific budget that you're trying to hit, and you can make it work based on your budget. You just play with the timeline, play with the time frame that you're going to be boosting out, and it'll give you some possible metrics for impressions, and I'd go off of that. So don't make it, don't think that, oh, I've got to boost with $500 to be successful. No, you can start off slow. You can see if it's working or not, if you're getting engagement, and then from there you can continue to add funds depending if that post is going well. So play with it. It's something that is very fluid, and you don't actually have to go in with a specific amount or really intention. You can play with it.
All great answers. Anybody else? Okay, we're coming over to you. We're going to give you a mic. Be very careful with it. Everybody behave.
So my service, thank you very much. So my service sells online, right? And I'm very interested in this part of it, and so I track the analytics on it. But I don't understand is there like an industry standard conversion rate? Like what is my target? I mean, I'm at 1%, and that seems really low to me, but I don't know what it should be. So can you kind of elaborate on that?
I mean, it's so industry specific. It's so industry specific that's really difficult, and I know that's not the answer you were looking for, dude. I totally get that. But typically, like if you're not hitting like 3% or above, that probably means there's something wrong with the content. You might want to reevaluate like what you're doing. I know in my field, it's about that. Like a lot of times for paid ads, it may hover around 5 to 10% if it's something particularly good, or if it's something they're really interested in, like a free class, right? Then it might pop up way higher. But if there's a cost associated, a lot of times it's hard to get somebody to click a link because they don't like being advertised to. So I feel the struggle, but what I would just, a Google search of your industry and just trying to like benchmark it from there, or people who are competitors, that's a great place to start.
Can I ask you what kind of business you have specifically?
So they sell commercial and residential recyclable collections services.
So we recycle number 1 and number 2 plastics, cardboard, any type of glass container, metals, and e-waste. So people get on my website, they sign up, we come by their location based on their schedule, their need. But for our residential customers, we come every other week. And we have a flat rate pricing scheme. It's $20 a month for anybody in our service area. And of course, it's different for commercial customers, you know what I mean? But I wanted to make it as convenient as possible. That's the big thing with recycling, right? It needs to be convenient, it needs to be accessible. And so that's what we do. And people get on the website, they sign up, we go from there.
Got you. Okay, so do you know how long you keep a customer for on average?
I've not lost one yet.
Okay, that's
So once
good.
you grab 'em, you have 'em.
That's good.
Provide a service that people want. It's an elective service. You know, they're not going through their city. So it's something that they want. And as long as I'm consistent, we're in the game.
Got you. So what you asked is you have a 1% conversion rate. So this is where knowing the analytics can be useful, because if you say, okay, well, that means that there's 52 weeks. So 52 times 20 is how much you're going to make over the lifetime, or at least over that year. So you can say, okay, I'm going to make X dollars on this customer. Now I'm going to set aside a budget to where that even if I know I'm getting 10,000 views with the 1% conversion rate, that's 100 customers. And then if I have 100 customers, if it's worth, I don't know what the math is off the top of my head, but if it's worth it, then you're going to be profitable. Then the specialty comes in from, okay, how can I get that 1% conversion rate to a 3% conversion rate? And now you just tripled. So instead of getting, 100 customers, now you're going to get 300 customers. And so that's where once you have that analytics and you really understand, like, how many people am I sending into my funnel? How many am I getting out on the other side? Then, and like this is what we do for businesses doing $1 to $10 million, is we figure out where the little dials that if we change the style of content, if we start marketing this way, where we're going to get the biggest difference in outcome. And so 1% means 1 in every 100 people. So it's like, how many hundreds of people can you get to see your stuff? And if you can figure out how to do that cost effectively, I mean, you're going to scale as long as you keep your customers, like you said.
Organically, we have 38,000 on reach right now.
Okay.
I don't do any paid advertising. I just consistent.
Well, that 38,000 is
That's a lot.
that's a lot for recycling services.
Yeah, because like typically I always tell people like, well, what kind of service is it? And then they tell me and I'm like, that's not sexy. It's one of those services that, like you said, it's an elective service, right? And so I also want to add that, as a plug, Tarun and myself also can meet with people one-on-one and do a business marketing strategy session for you guys and deep dive into this a little bit more. But for right now, we have room for one more question. I just want to give somebody else in the room an opportunity to ask their question.
Really quick, I'm
Okay, yeah.
going to add on to that one really quick. So you're in the recycling services. I just remember that marketing is not just social media and web. I think the conversion would also matter, face-to-face, in-person, communicating. And I feel like this type of, or your specific reach, they're going to be an older population, probably those that actually care about the earth. And I think those one-on-one interactions and you physically being out and about would result in more conversion rates than anything web, or in addition to the web.
Right, and then I would love to see you at the Home and Garden Show in September as well. Okay. So anybody got our last question? We're gonna wrap it up. All right, bring it. Orange shirt, let's go, round 2. We love that hustle, thank you.
So it's a simple little question. I'm a home-based business at Amazing Coffee, and all I have is my cell phone. And that number is what I have on my business card, which I need to reorder, but not until I improve them. Should I be getting a separate phone, like a business line?
Ooh, that's up to you. So it depends on the amount of calls that you're getting right now. And, like when you're using a personal number, you're at the mercy of saying, I need to answer this phone call. You don't have the luxury of turning it off, right? Because you have your like personal stuff. And then I will tell you that there are like third-party apps like Open Phone, where you can download the app Open Phone and have a secondary number. And when it rings, it shows you that this is coming in for your business. And then you can give other people a login for their phones, and then they can answer phones simultaneously with you as well under that vanity phone number. But there are alternatives. You don't have to carry around a second burner phone. And there's apps and all kinds of technology that can help you maintain a second number to A, keep your privacy, and B, keep your tenure as you grow.
Who can I get with to get more information or help with that?
You can get with Tauren or myself. Cecilia is pretty nice too. No, any one of us are happy to help. We all have something to say. That's why we were on this panel. But you know, with the common denominator in all of us is that we are all really passionate about our community. And the thing that we have to contribute to our community is our expertise when it comes to this digital market and this digital world. So the answer is everybody on this panel.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for being here today.
Appreciate you guys.